thank you, Wenda, for your account of your retreat. When are you going to do the next one? So, this practice began with a retreat. It began with the retreat that Shakyamuni Buddha decided to do, leaving his ascetic companions and going off by himself and sitting out in nature, which I suppose you could do in India, maybe better than in Kansas. And we don't really know how long he sat, but for quite some time, and there are different accounts for how long it was. And he was sitting very early one morning and saw the morning star rise, and that would have been Venus. When Venus clears the horizon on a very clear morning, there is no stronger experience that I've ever had. So I used to, I've always been an amateur astronomer since I was a kid. So I'd keep up with Venus. I know when it's going to rise. And several times I've gone out in nature to see it. And each time just, everything is completely open and completely clear. Then maybe 10 minutes later, if you're like me, boom, it all shuts down. But to have an experience like that, just to have a taste of it anyway, I think is very valuable. So if you'd like to do that, let me know, and I'll tell you when Venus will be rising in the morning sky, and it's actually months from now, so you can think it over for a while. And there are places you can go, actually very, very close to town. I don't mean go to sit a retreat out there towards Eudora. Well, not a bad idea maybe, but there are spots on the road to Eudora where you have a very clear, dark eastern horizon, and you can see things, just like that. And the second founding of our practice, and maybe specifically of Zen practice, was Bodhidharma, sitting in a cave for 6 years. Which one do you like? Sitting outside and watching Venus rise, or sitting in a cave, for 6 years, just looking at the wall gazing, meditation, sometimes it's called. Whatever your circumstances, I'm sorry, for 9 years. Buddha sat for 6 years, Bodhidharma sat for 9. Thank you very much. Yeah, 9 years sitting in a cave. They say his legs sort of fell off after a while, just sitting so much. Anyway, I for one recommend going outside and watching Venus rise. But any kind of solo retreat that you can do, even it's for one day, is well worth doing. And you might find that, you can do a weekend, sitting on your own. And if you want to do that and you don't feel you have enough experience, talk to either me or Judy, and we can give you some advice. And Judy has sat 90-day solo retreat in a cabin, and I've sat several shorter retreats, solo retreats, but for many weeks. And so we have enough experience maybe to advise you on how to do this. So I really strongly recommend it. And even if you have a regular job, weekends are usually available. And just to do it for a weekend, I think would be very valuable. And I don't know if we have any caves around here, but there actually are retreat cabins for rent quite close to Lawrence. And of course, people on the screen are all over, we're from Singapore on. But you can always find, even if it's in your house, and even if you're living with someone, to set off a portion of the house and for a day or two, that's where you practice. So does that bring up any questions, or are there any other questions? Yes.
So we have some written here. What's the point of practice?
I'm sorry?
Do you want? What is the point of practice?
Now, the point of practice, whether it's communal practice or a solo retreat, is to find your true self. So you can actually use a meditation technique that addresses that directly. On the inhalation, ask yourself, what am I? And then very uncompromisingly, on the exhalation, don't know. And try to keep, that practice. So why should you want to know what you are? I'm anticipating the next question here. Judy and I have been together for a long time. She's worth more than I am, by the way. In case. Yeah, why find out what you are? Is it just a matter of curiosity? Well, that's part of it, actually. What the hell am I? Don't know. But if you can get a glimpse of your true nature, you have also seen, the true nature of all beings. And you will also see that although our true nature, is pure and clear, most of us have the shade drawn, the shade of ignorance, which causes trouble for ourselves, our own lives, and causes trouble for many, if not most of the people we come into contact with. It is, in fact, ignorance of our true selves is the cause of suffering in the existential sense of that word. It doesn't mean that if you understand your true self, it won't hurt when you stub a toe or something. It doesn't protect you from any physical disease. And death is certain, and most of the time accounts are that it's usually not a very pleasant experience, dying. So it's not that we're escaping physical suffering, but the sort of suffering that we cause ourselves and that we cause others by not seeing clearly. So behind that is an assumption that what we truly are is beneficial or a part of the beneficent universe. You might put it that way. And so realizing it is not simply a matter of feeling good, but great love, great compassion, the great bodhisattva way. So we always talk about the bodhisattva way. So of course bodhi means enlightened, and sattva means being, an enlightened being. But when we think bodhisattva, we think not so much of the enlightenment of the bodhisattva, but that bodhisattvas center their lives on compassion for all beings. And so, wisdom and compassion they interpenetrate each other. So when we practice hard, things begin to become clear. And I think for most of us, one of the first things that becomes clear is that this world is a suffering world, and that we've got to do what we can about that. So bodhisattva, name means wise being. It's more the heart of the bodhisattva that I think we really value. So thank you for your question. Are there any other bodhisattva questions? That's what we call a question asked out of compassion for the poor speaker.
I have a question. This is Liz.
Sure.
And kind of Linda kind of pointed to her in her talk. There's this idea in Buddhism that your true self, your awakened self, and then there's no attachments. So it seems sometimes to conflict with a lay life in which you're married, or you have children, or working neighbors and that sort of thing, close friends, and so you shouldn't have the quote unquote attachments of a spouse, and so what? So the no attachments. I mean, there's even jokes about that.
Tell us one.
Do you know why Buddhists cannot vacuum in the corners?
What? Can't hear. Really can't hear.
What she's asking.
I'm sorry?
Cannot hear.
Why can't Buddhists vacuum in the corner? No
Because
attachments for the
No
vacuum.
attachments.
Yeah, old joke. Okay, good.
I think you said, why can a moose not vacuum?
Same reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so go on, please, with your question.
Well, so the question is, what is the how does the awakened self, the true self,
Yeah.
and no attachments, yet living a lay life in which you have a spouse? How does all that fit together?
Yeah. So an attachment is that your relationship is for you. What can I get out of this relationship with my spouse? So it's attachment in that sense that is considered a negative in Buddhism. So whatever it is, whether it's something, even some material object that you own, or some relationship that you have. So for whom? And when you start to look at that, and you suspect, well, maybe it is for me, and, and keep looking at that, then things can start to change. So I think it's Ezra Pound, the poet, who has the line, "What thou lovest well is thy true heritage. What thou lovest well shall not be reft from thee." So when you love something well, you will never lose it. You don't have to wrap your hands around it and say, mine. So true love, no attachment, really, really work well together. Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. I can't tell because I don't have my glasses on, and this time is very 5 minutes. We got the 5-minute warning from Tom.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so why ask don't know? I mean, why ask what am I if you always know you're going to answer don't know? Is it to remind us because we keep
Is it what? I'm sorry.
do we keep asking that because we're so forgetful?
Boy, are we forgetful. When was the last time you did something that you really regret because you just weren't paying attention?
I can't remember.
You see? That's how bad it is. So I think your answer is a humorous admission that, yeah, this is a serious problem. And not just, of course, I'm talking about, all of us. Yeah. I don't know where the attachment word came from. We talk about clinging, and that certainly expresses it, very well. So clinging is, you're holding on to it for dear life. And you don't have this, you don't have anything. I've got to have this. Of course, you might say, well, that can motivate practice too. Yeah, I've got to practice. Yeah. So if you want to be attached to practice, maybe that's okay. But that's the only thing you can be attached to. Language is tricky. Words, slip, slide, decay with imprecision. That's T.S. Eliot. So I've quoted 2 early 20th century poets so far. I'm on a roll, but I don't know any more than that. Yeah, we have to always be paying attention. Things just tend to drift away from us, so easily. So returning our mind, to this moment. What is this? What am I? What is the situation I'm in? What's my correct behavior, my most beneficial behavior? So that kind of self-reflection, I think it's at the heart of our practice, and can lead to a very good outcome. So thank you all for coming to practice. We have a different arrangement in the Dharma room now. It used to be we could only see everybody online on this little screen. Now you're all projected on the wall. So think of yourself, as a monumental image, enlightening all of us. I really like this. This is a good arrangement. Yeah. And everybody can see you, not just, the person who's right here looking at the computer.
Wanda was sitting there and then the rest of us looking this
We'll
way.
talk later. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We're off to a good start. So
We'll talk
anyway,
once we turn around.
thank you very much, and I think it's time for announcements. And if I can see how to stop the recording, I will.